Uh, I think you've been reading a lot about it's a terrible topic when you talk about financial after this, but we have a big country and we've been doing very well. The tariffs, as you know, are starting to come in at record levels. Tremendous amounts of money are coming in to our country. We never did that before. We're not used to it. We only have tariffs going out. We only adhere to the rules of other nations who charge us tremendous tariffs because we were led by stupid people or people without any business sense. And I'd like to ask God, you could maybe talk a little bit about how well we're doing with regard to the money coming in. And the big money will start coming in on August 1st. I think it was made clear today by the letters that were sent out yesterday and today. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. We will take in about $100 billion in tariff income thus far this year, and that's with the tariffs, the major tariffs not having started till the second quarter. So we could expect that could be well over $300 billion by the end of the year. We don't agree with CBO scoring, but for those who do, the CBO scored tariff income over the next 10 years at $2.8 trillion, which we think is probably low. And sir, under your leadership, we're witnessing.
And they gave us no credit during this last little, the great, big, beautiful bill. I always use the word great. I add that to it because it really is what it is. It's never been anything like it, actually. And I want to thank all the Republicans that voted for it. And I want to, scold the Democrats because they're voting for tax cuts. They're voting for no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, and many, many other things far more important than that. Great health care. And frankly, every Democrat should lose their election. Go ahead, please.
The Council of Economic Advisors released a new report saying that imported goods have actually decreased in price from December through March. Well, my question is,
the tariffs.
The Fed chairman keeps saying that tariffs are going to cause price increases.
Are
the prices just not
chairman of the
through?
Fed?
Yes, exactly.
Well, you do a better job than him.
Are the prices just not passed through yet?
No, I think what's happening is everything's evening out. When we charge, see what people don't understand, the other countries have been charged, almost every country charges us tariffs. We had deficits with everybody for years, for decades. And we were like this big monolith that made bad deals with everybody. We rebuilt South Korea, we stayed there. It's okay, we rebuilt it, and we stayed there. And they pay us very little for the military. I got them to pay billions of dollars, and Biden then canceled it when he came in. I said to South Korea, as an example, we give you free military, essentially, very little. And I think you should pay us $10 billion a year. And they went crazy. But they agreed to 3. So I got 3 with a phone call. And I was satisfied. I said, but next year we have to talk. And then we had a rigged election and we never got to talk. And you know what Biden did? They probably went to him and they said, listen, Trump treated us terribly and we shouldn't be paying anything. And he cut it down to nothing. So that's what happens. It's ridiculous. That's the other thing. We're talking to countries about contributing to the military, not only just paying more in NATO, but contributing. We have 45,000 soldiers in South Korea. We have 45,000 soldiers in Germany, 52,000 actually. And, that's a huge economic development for them. That's tremendous amount. That's like having a city. It's tremendous money for them, and it's a tremendous loss for us. So we're talking, in a very nice way, we're talking to them about it. It's very unfair. We supply the militaries to many very successful countries. I mean, South Korea is making a lot of money, and they're very good. They're very good, but, they should be paying for their own military.
On the tariffs again, on August 1st, you've said is the deadline. What incentives do countries have to negotiate? It seems that deadline keeps moving. It was April 2nd, now it's...
We didn't move, no. It's always been August 1st, that's when we're paying. And a statement was put out today, and I put it out just to make it clear. It wasn't a change, it was August 1st. We don't change very much, every time we put out a statement, they say, he made a change. I didn't make a change. Clarification, maybe. No, August 1st they pay. And everybody pays, everybody has to pay, and the incentive is that they have the right to deal in the United States. If they don't want to, they don't have to pay, and they don't have to deal here. But if they want to buy and make a lot of money and sell in the United States, they have to do that. You know, if you go back and look at some of the good presidents, our country was the wealthiest, proportionately the wealthiest, from 1870 to 1913. It was an all-tariff country. We didn't have income tax. That came in in 1913. We had tariffs. And we had so much money we didn't know what to do with it. We had, we had a couple of presidents that were very, very strong. McKinley, I guess more than anybody, but he was the tariff king, but he was very, very strong. It's sort of sad. He made a fortune for this country, became very rich, and then Teddy Roosevelt went out and vice president, and he spent the money. And they said Roosevelt was a great president. And let's say he was a great president, but the money was paid by McKinley with tariffs. Tariffs are charged by other countries at levels that are ridiculous. And you know, I call those other countries, and every one of them is willing to give us everything now, by the way, just so you know. Sir, we'll charge you no tariffs, nothing. We'll give you everything. We'll give you access to our markets. We'll give you everything. Is that a correct statement, Scott?
Yes, sir.
Howard, would you say that's a correct statement?
Exactly correct.
It's like they just don't, because they're very spoiled, because for years they ripped us off and we didn't have a president that understood it, or Secretary of Treasury or Secretary of a lot of different secretaries are involved, but certainly Commerce Secretary was, you know, not doing their job. I don't know about Kelly, she's small business, we'll keep it that way, okay? Her small business is bigger than almost all big businesses when you add it all up. But no, they are very respectful of our country, but the incentive is that they have the right to do business with us. Without that, they don't have the right to do business, and that would be okay too.
And will there be a flurry of deals? Will we hear, in the next 24 hours, will we hear a flurry of deals?
Yeah, we have a lot of them going out, but the deals are mostly my deal to them. We're picking a number that's low. We don't want to hurt them, and fair. We're picking a number that's lower than, in most cases, lower than what they charged us. But it's amazing when you've paid all this money for years and they get one president that's a little bit different and a little tougher on this subject, and they're willing to drop everything they've been charging us for years and years. I mean, we have countries going, we will have you don't have to pay any tariff to come in and do business. They're giving us total access to their countries. They gave us no access to the country. They say, well, you cannot go into our country. Okay, good. Now we will give you total access and you don't have to pay any tariffs. But please don't charge us tariffs. And we don't like that deal. So the letters I send out are, we have made some deals. We can make a lot more deals. It's just too time consuming. It just makes it more complicated. And we can do things over the years too. You know, we're not hard line. But it's about time the United States of America started collecting money from countries that were ripping us off and laughing behind our back at how stupid we were. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. President, on the tariff issue, so you've talked about India coming, but then a couple days ago you issued a new tariff threat to members of the BRICS countries for if they aligned with anti-American policies.
10% charge.
That would be India, Brazil,
That's
Russia,
right, they have
South
to pay
Africa.
10% if they're in BRICS. Because
Right.
BRICS was set up to hurt us. BRICS was set up to degenerate our dollar and take our dollar as the standard, take it off as the standard. And that's okay if they want to play that game, but I can play that game too. So anybody that's in BRICS is getting a 10% charge.
Is that immediate, sir, or is
Yeah,
that
pretty soon.
if they engage in some behavior?
Well, if they're a member of BRICS, they're going to have to pay 10% tariff just for that one thing, and they won't be a member long. I thought BRICS was, you know, I said this about a year ago, and it largely broke up. But, you know, there are a couple that hang around, but I thought it largely broke up. BRICS is not, in my opinion, not a serious threat. But what they're trying to do is destroy the dollar so that another country can take over and be the standard. And we're not going to lose the standard at any time. If you have a smart president, you will never lose the standard. If you have a stupid president like the last one, you would lose the standard. You wouldn't have the dollar as you. And if we lost the world standard dollar, that would be like losing a war, a major world war. We would not be the same country any longer. We're not going to let that happen. The dollar, you ever hear the expression, dollar is king? The dollar is king. We're going to keep it that way, okay? And I'm just saying, if people want to challenge it, they can, but they're going to have to pay a big price. And I don't think any of them are willing to pay that price.
But a simple question is, does that jeopardize?
Thank you, Mr. President. Are you optimistic about reaching a tariff deal with the European Union soon?
Well, the European Union has been speaking to us, Ursula and the whole group, and they've been very nice. They treated us very badly until recently. Now they're treating us very nicely. It's like a different world, actually. They've treated us very badly. They were among the toughest to deal with. Actually, in many respects, they were much worse than China. Look at what they do to our companies. They sue Apple, they sue Google. 17 billion they got from Apple on a lawsuit that they didn't have a case. They have, judges that are European Union judges, and they ruled. They take so much money away from our country in terms of that, in terms of other things that they do. They're very tough, but now they're being very nice to us, and we'll see what happens. We're probably 2 days off from sending them a letter. We are talking to them. I just want you to know, a letter means a deal. A lot of people say, we got 200 countries. We can't meet with 200 countries. We have a few trusted people that know what they're doing, that are doing a good job, but you can't do it. You have to do it in a more general way, but it's a very good way. It's a better way. It's a more powerful way. And we sent them a letter. You read the letter. I think it was well crafted. And mostly it's just a little number in there. You'll pay 25%, 35%. We have some at 60, 70. Those are ones with massive, where we have massive trade deficits because they've treated us very badly. But I would say in every case, I'm treating them better than they treated us over the years. Don't you agree with that? I could have done much. I could have been much harsher. I don't want to do that. We want to have relationships, but in every case, they treated us far worse than I'm treating them. I'm treating them very good. I could go higher with the tariffs, but I don't want to hurt them. That's why when you just read it, you come up with the number. It's so incredible that prices are actually going down. Just so you know, when I got in, everyone said, "Oh, eggs are going through the roof." That was the first. I was in for about 4 days, and they started screaming at me about eggs. They said, "That's Biden's problem." I didn't know about eggs, but eggs went up about 5 times. You did a fantastic job, and we ended up shortly getting. In fact, for Easter, they said, "Go out and buy plastic eggs. You can't use real eggs." Well, we bought 200,000 eggs for the White House for the Easter egg hunt that we have at the White House, and there were eggs. We had the price down, and now the price is lower than it was before. We did a good job with eggs, but we did a good job with groceries. Our prices are down in this country. A big part of it's oil. The oil, you had a couple of places last week. You had $1.99 for oil, for gasoline. Nobody thought they'd see that. I want to get it lower if I can, but we've done a good job.
And as I move forward with these tariff talks, I heard a company, orthopedic company in Indiana, say to me, for the first time since you have taken office, Mr. President, their increase in their bottom line by 8% since these tariff talks have happened. Not one company has said the president is not doing a good job. These tariff talks are working. They're feeling it on the ground. The media has told a false story because what's happening on the ground is positive, and that's what we're seeing in these jobs numbers. So I really, through the Department of Labor, to come in behind all the secretaries and build this workforce is going to be key to the American worker. So thank you for what everybody did this last week. The One Big Beautiful Bill is a doubling down of this, and we're going to see these workers start to grow. And that apprenticeship program is going to be working.
That's
we'll
right.
have that
It's gonna
million
be
apprentices across the country.
We, as you know, we're building plants all over the country now, which you weren't building any plants 4 years ago. You weren't building anything. But those plants, when they open up, it's going to be, you'll see numbers like you haven't seen ever. I don't think in history you'll never see numbers like what we're going to see in the very near future. Many of them are building the plants. Some are just starting right now. It's a brand new administration. But, and they wouldn't be here except for 2 things. November 5th, the election, and the tariffs. And frankly, I guess the election was more important because of the tariffs. I mean, another person wouldn't have done this. but they're coming in because of the tariffs. They're not going to pay 25, 30, 40, 50%, 70 and 100%. And we'll be announcing something very soon on pharmaceuticals. We're going to give people about a year and a half to come in, and after that they're going to be tariffed if they have to bring the pharmaceuticals into the country, the drugs and other things into the country. They're going to be tariffed at a very, very high rate, like 200%. We'll give them a certain period of time to get their act together. But they were all here, now they all left. They went to other places because we allowed, people that sat in this room allowed it to happen. And I don't allow it to happen. The people in this room don't allow it to happen. So we're going to be announcing pharmaceuticals, chips, and various couple of other things, big ones. We did steel, as you know, they're 50%. We did aluminum, 50%. Lumber just came out.
Why don't you announce copper?
And we did cars. And now, today we're doing copper.
Copper and lumber. What would that tariff be on? The section tariff?
I believe the tariff on copper, we're going to make it 50%.
50%.
Any breakthroughs in
See, I'm glad he
copper?
didn't question it, because
Any
I sort of thought, what would that be? It's a quick one. I didn't have much time, but he agreed with me. That's why he's Howard.
Any breakthroughs on Gaza?
Gold leaf it. Could I raise you? How about, would you gold leaf it?
I was going to ask about McKinley. One of their favorite presidents.
Well, McKinley was a great president who never got credit. In fact, they changed the name of Mount McKinley, and I changed it back because he should have been. The people of Ohio he was the governor of Ohio. The people of Ohio were very happy when I did that. I heard they were very insulted. They took the name of Mount McKinley off. That was done by Obama a little while ago, and I had to change it back. I changed it back. He actually was a great president. He was a president. He was the tariff, the most, I guess, since me. I think I'm going to outdo him, but he was a tariff president. He believed that other countries should pay for the privilege of coming into our country and taking our jobs and taking our treasure. That's the way he explained it. They took our jobs and they took our treasure, and for that they should pay. And he made them pay, and he built a tremendous fortune. In fact, in 1887, they had the Great Tariff Committee was set up in 1887 because our country had so much money, we didn't know what to do with it. And they set up a committee of, as they called them, elites, a term that we have to change because I think a lot of the people that are elites aren't elite. I think the people that aren't elite are elite, so we're going to have to maybe switch that around somehow. But they had a committee that was set up to spend the money because it was such a large amount of money at that time. It was nobody had seen anything like it. And it all came in from tariffs. And people didn't pay tax. There was no income tax system. I told you that came back in 1913. That came back and lived well for a while, and then you had the Great Depression. And then later they tried to bring back tariffs, but the whole thing was, this was after the Depression. That was one of the great misconceptions is people like to say, oh, but it was during the, but no. The country had a Great Depression, and then after the Depression, long after it started, they brought back tariffs to see if they could save it, but it took them really 25 years. When you say about 25 years to get out of the Great Depression, a lot of people don't understand that.